going to jump into the topic. The topic is how to improve and increase parent engagement. I also want to first just really quickly ask if everyone could just tell us in the chat box on the right side, what's your name and where are you from? Well, we'll get your name already, but just tell us where you're joining us from today. It's always really helpful to know, who we're talking to. Sometimes it can help us, direct some of the conversation around needs in different areas. Where, what state are you in? So we've got Jean from Hanover, New Hampshire. We got Lori from Vancouver, BC. Welcome, everybody. We've got April from Chico, California. Eloise from Toronto. Hey, I'm in Toronto. We are actually, today I am broadcasting from Toronto myself. Jonathan Wolff, of course, is in San Francisco. And we also have Pat Kennefic joining us. She's the Director of Customer Support at Hubbli. And we've got Sherry from Georgian Bay, Ontario. Another fellow Canadian. Margaret from Colorado City, Arizona. Lauren from Flossmoor, Illinois. Wow. Okay, we're really covering all regions.
International.
Staten Island. Yeah. We've got Adebola from Staten Island, New York. All right. We need a New Yorker. It's always important to have a New Yorker. And Lower from Ohio. Awesome. Okay. And we'll without further ado, we're going to kick this off. So, I want you to take a look at this picture here, and just think if this looks familiar to you, and if you can relate to this at all. There's paper calendars, there's binders, there's piles of money, and there's sticky notes, and all the while there's this computer sitting there that could actually be used to manage all the same types of tasks, and with the right software it could do it with a fraction of the time and hassle. So you're in the right place if you spend hours managing communication tools and systems. And if you spend hours every week managing piles of paperwork, and if you'd like to spend more time on higher value tasks like face-to-face conversations with parents. I also want to just start off and tell you that we really strongly encourage you to stay for the full 45 minutes of the presentation, because we're going to review a variety of solutions to the most common challenges of parent engagement. Parents not being informed and feeling frustrated, and spending hours managing piles of paper, and managing multiple communication tools and systems that have redundant databases that all need to be managed manually. Doing the same repetitive tasks that could be automated by a system, and losing track of parents in the enrollment process. And we want you to stay to the end because we're going to make sure that you really gain a lesson and value from the content on all those topics. The goal today, the first goal, is to learn how to use the right communication tools the right way so that parents actually read your messages and are informed. The second learning goal today is to learn how to centralize all the communication tools into one simple system so that you don't have to learn and manage contacts in multiple locations. And the third learning goal today is to learn how to reduce the time and expense that you and your staff put into a disjointed, patchwork-like communication system. Before I start, I just want to talk about me a little bit. We live here in Toronto, as I mentioned, and in Ontario, the Ministry of Education likes to pound on the paperwork like no other. My wife, Kyla, is an expert in early childhood education. She's worked in many education scenarios here in Toronto, and I know firsthand how much time she spends performing the ministry-required paperwork, documenting the progress of the children she teaches, etc. This type of documentation, when done through a paper-based and inefficient system, results in lower program quality. Material development, instructional planning, communicating with the parents, working with your teammates. These are the things that actually increase program quality. So anything that takes you away or teachers away from this is really reducing the quality of the program. Jonathan, did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
Well, yeah, in the consulting work that I do, I always see teachers saying, I'd like more time to prepare my classroom environment, my prepared environment. I'd like more time to do observation and assessment, record keeping, instructional planning, more time to give lessons, more time to contact parents. I mean, aren't these the tasks that make teachers great and effective and make programs, Montessori programs, have great quality? So anything with regard to communications that pulls teachers away from their primary tasks or pulls administrators away from things that they want to be doing, it's sort of fluff. It's like, why are we having to do all these things when there's technology available to allow people to do what is really valuable to them, meaningful to the school, and what they're really skilled to do?
Right, and obviously, now we all really know for sure that Jonathan Wolff is here with us today. So I just want to say I'm really honored in having the opportunity to present this information with Jonathan, and I'd like to let him take a minute or two to introduce himself, to make sure everyone knows, and first and foremost, to make sure everybody knows where to find him online. So he's got a great website. It's got great information, and it's obviously the best way to contact him. It's jonathanwolff.org. And but Jonathan, please take a minute to introduce yourself and what you do.
Thank you, Jono. I began my Montessori career actually as a Montessori assistant back in the 70s in Philadelphia, and then moved into primary or children's house, CASA, teaching for about 13, 14 years, then into school administration. For the last 15 years or more, perhaps 20 years, I've been doing consulting with schools, both on program issues, classroom observations, parent education, board development, and various kinds of in-servicing. So it's really a joy to be supporting Hubbli and to be supporting Jono. I want to be very transparent. Jono and I do have a financial arrangement, but that's not really why I became interested in Hubbli. One of my passions is in helping teachers and administrators improve parent relations, communications, participation, engagement in schools. Most of us in Montessori training didn't get anything really about parent communications and parent relations. And so I find that when there is a good working relationship between home and school, and especially between the teacher and parents, children gain. There's a better understanding of children, and we're able to respond to their needs. Teachers feel more supported. Parents feel more satisfied. You get longer-term retention in the school. So I think this is a huge issue. And when I found Hubbli being the all-in-one communications platform, I was really enthused because it gave me the means, or gave teachers the means, to do everything that I give workshops on in terms of creating a greater partnership between home and school. So thanks for the opportunity, Jono.
You're welcome, and thanks for joining us today. I'm sure everybody here agrees that parent engagement is incredibly important for the successful outcomes for students. Every major university has departments focused on it, but no one's actually addressing the biggest roadblock. And for many reasons, I decided it was my mission to figure out the system for Montessori schools that will not only improve and increase parent engagement, but also make it way easier for staff to perform their jobs by removing the hassles that exist with managing multiple communication tools. The beautiful thing about that is it's the same solution for both sides of the coin. Meaning, If you can simplify the tools and systems that staff use, it will make it easier for them to focus on students and improve their learning experience, while at the same time, a simpler system will give parents the experience they prefer as well. And that's why I built Hubbli, which is an all-in-one parent engagement system. The lessons I'm going to give you today are all based off thousands of conversations I've had with school directors, teachers, parents, office managers, communications directors, admissions directors, and I've used these to build and continuously improve Hubbli. The information is actually not only coming from those conversations, but also a lot of data, because we have managed over 3 million parent messages. So why is building a great engagement system so hard to nail down? Well, schools are not run by digital communication experts. They're run by education experts, and that's the way it should be. That's the kind of school I want to put my kids in. But this does create a distinct challenge for schools. The reality is parents are experiencing frustrating and confusing communication systems. Every school we talk to has no standard of communication between the school and the parents. From one teacher to the other, oftentimes it's a totally different experience for the parents. One teacher will use Facebook, another will use sticky notes, another teacher will use text messages. You name it, they're using it. Some parents have 3 teachers doing all 3 different ways of communicating with each teacher, and they don't know where anything is. So have you ever found yourself frustrated as a leader in your school by parents who say they don't know about events, or even though you've sent the information to them many times? Have you found that because some staff also didn't know exactly what was happening, maybe they didn't fulfill their responsibilities? So the reality is parents and staff are literally being programmed by the system itself to ignore communications from the schools.
Or Jono, if I may say, ignore or misuse. So they either don't use it, or they because they're so stressed out, they send messages or communicate in ways that don't work for the parents and frustrate parents, or vice versa.
Yeah, that's very accurate. So here are some common mistakes that cause messages to be missed or misunderstood. So take a look at this and mentally check the ones that happen in your school. Sending everything to everyone, regardless of its usefulness and relevance to each specific parent. Or sending information over and over with the hope that parents will read it. Or, parents having to look in multiple locations for important information. And, of course, a lot of time and money going into paper processes. What many of us don't realize is that these practices ensure that parents won't read your messages. So if you don't have all the communication best practices put in place, it creates unnecessary workload for staff, less teaching time for teachers, and more dissatisfaction and frustration for parents, and more misunderstandings and conflicts, unfortunately. So if you have parents that are dissatisfied by the communication system in your school, the research actually shows that regardless of program quality, this can actually have a negative effect on your retention of those families. And all of that creates way more work to keep the school running and keep the school full of students. So if you can imagine if there was an all-encompassing communications tool that ensured parents were informed and that they enjoyed the experience, what would that mean for you? Maria Montessori spoke of follow the child, and I'm not really the expert in this. Jonathan is, and but what if we were to follow the same principle in our communications to parents? what would happen if our messaging practices were more responsive to the lifestyle needs and communication tendencies of the families we serve and hope to retain? Jonathan, would you like to elaborate on that a little?
Well, I'm sure about everybody who's listening probably either uses Netflix, Amazon movies, or Amazon books, and you all know that if, for instance, I start ordering cowboy pictures, cowboy movies from Netflix or Amazon, guess what list they start to send me? It's very customer focused, customer sensitive. We don't know nearly as much about the parents in our schools in terms of their interests, their aspirations, their own experiences when they were in school, their expectations for their child. Once we have a system that allows us to gain access to that kind of information because it's a efficient system, then we can frame communications in a way that really follows the parent and allows people to feel, wow, I've really been heard. And the hearing and the speaking have been a really simple system. The system hasn't frustrated me. And it seems like these teachers really know and care about my family. That's what they call in retail work being customer focused or customer centric. And I think that's the spirit of follow the child as applied to follow the parent, as Jono was saying.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. That's an amazing way to phrase. That's a great analogy, actually. I haven't thought of that one. So let's do a poll. I want to hear from the audience today. How many communication tools are you using at your school? Feel free to type in the chat box on the right side. Tell us what tools you guys are using. We'll take a second, list the ones that are top of mind right now. And as we go through the presentation, you might think of some more when you see some more slides that we're about to get into. We're going to get really specific soon. And it's probably going to trigger some reminders about other types of communication that you guys manage, because that's a very broad term, communication, parent communication. It's quite expansive. So go ahead in the right side in the chat box, tell us how many communication tools are you guys using, and please also list off some of the examples. What we see a lot will be things like Facebook and email and text messages, be a number of different social media tools, pretty much all the different Google tools and Microsoft communication tools out there, and probably some newsletter tools like Constant Contact or MailChimp. So tell us what's going on at your school. We'll just give you another second here. So Catherine's saying weekly written newsletter, school-wide, monthly letters from each classroom, occasional emails. Kathy Tobin says MailChimp and Facebook. Yep, all right. Those are the common ones. Heidi says four email, Facebook, website, and MailChimp. Yeah, your website obviously is another communication tool for sure. So Tiffany's using a tool called Tadpoles. Margaret is using Facebook, newsletters, notes, and text. Lauren saying email, newsletters, flyers, chalkboard. Okay, chalkboards. April, you're starting a new school, so I don't know. Okay, Remind app and email newsletter. Yep. So this is exactly what we hear from every school we talk to every day. And I'll wager that as we go along in this webinar, you're probably going to see some communication strategies and say, oh, yeah, we use this to do that, or we use this one to do that. So so feel free to toss those into the chat box. Oh, Terrence, Facebook and Basecamp. Basecamp is one that I rarely hear. It's usually used by design agencies and things like that, but that's interesting. I'd love to hear more about that one too. That's great. Thanks everybody for giving us your input there. Recently I had a conversation with someone, and she said that she she just had to reschedule a meeting, and it took about 45 minutes for her to simply look through this spaghetti-like email thread and figure out who could or couldn't make the multiple different proposed times that each person was, offering. So there's a group of people, and they're trying to reschedule a meeting. And what they're doing is they're using the reply all feature back.
Oh,
So what you end up with when you do that is everyone's hitting reply all, and this gets really fun when everyone's on a different email provider who organize the thread differently. So you end up with this lovely email thread like this, and this is what it looks like when all the messages are collapsed. Then you have to open each one, and each individual message has all the previous messages in it inside of that. So it's actually a list of progressively longer email threads. Uh, it's like kind of like bowls of spaghetti stacked on top of each other, and you're just looking for one little noodle of information. It can be very time consuming and very frustrating. So, a private social network like this example from the Hubbli system is much more efficient and less risky. Hubbli is like having your own private Facebook where everyone is a member of one or more groups according to their areas of common interest or need. Once something's posted in a group, if someone has a question on it, everyone can see the answer, so the teacher doesn't have to answer it separately for everyone. And it's easy to see the thread of the whole conversation. Plus, everything that is relevant to a parent is contained within their network of groups. So when they need to find information, it's already organized for them in context, rather than having to sift through their entire email archive where everything else from their entire life is piled on top of it. How helpful would it be to know who read your messages? If you look at the example here in Hubbli, we make it really easy to see this information on every message you send. So you can see every message that goes out, who opened it, who clicked on it, and who replied to it. So groups like this are really helpful. You can send and receive real-time updates, which are great for all sorts of scenarios. And you can notify parents about group-specific events. And it allows you to answer questions just one time for everybody. If everyone has the same question, you can just answer that question once. And of course, inside that group, you can share photos and videos and documents. And I just got a report that the slides are going a little crazy. Slides okay.
now they're up again, Jono.
Awesome. And that's why I've got great.
Now they're
Once again. There we go. Some technical. Everybody, just let me know. Just chime in if anything weird happens again with the slides. So strategy number 2, you want to make sure that the system you use has an option to send out notifications, and you want to make sure it has both email and mobile notifications, so it has a better chance of getting read. This is fairly standard of most group communication tools like Facebook or Google Groups or Instagram or Twitter, etc. Problem is, parents can always turn off those notifications, and they often do that on those sites because otherwise they would get millions of notifications from all the other groups they're on. So the benefit of a notification system built for schools like Hubbli is that it's a discrete channel of communication, so it doesn't get mixed in with everything else. Also, we know that you need the authority to override those settings when something's urgent. So as a school leader, you can always do that. Whereas on Facebook, you don't really have control over that. And another really important feature is, and I can't stress this one enough, whatever system or tool you use, make sure the parents don't have to log in to respond. If you want to increase engagement, you absolutely must remove as many barriers as possible. So you want to use a tool that allows users to reply to system notifications that land in their email directly from that email, simply by hitting reply. Again, there are a number of tools out there that do this. Facebook and LinkedIn are probably two of the most important out there. There are others. This diagram is an example of how Hubbli does it. So first and foremost, this is about removing barriers and making parent communication as easy as possible for everyone. But there is a very valuable ancillary benefit here. In Hubbli's case, as a school admin, you actually have access to all the communication records between your staff and your parents. Calendar management is another place we see schools losing a lot of time that could be better spent on higher value tasks. Many admins I talk to have multiple calendar systems and are keeping each one of them updated manually. Now, you ideally want to create separate calendars for each class or program so that parents don't have to sift through events that are not relevant to them. Because if they have to do that, many times they just won't bother because it's too annoying, or they're simply too busy and they forget. And just like I said before, parents shouldn't have to log into any system to be informed. So if you notice on this example on the Hubbli calendar tool, it has a feature so parents can just synchronize their personal calendars. So any events from the Hubbli calendar will just automatically show up in any personal digital calendar tool they like to use. On Hubbli, we give you one centralized calendar tool, and it allows you to create events and assign them to any specific programs or groups, and you can send out notifications to the parents as well. But like all the features here in Hubbli, we've just baked them into one platform. There are other calendar tools out there, of course, that will offer you these features. The key is to make sure that parents don't have to log in. As far as parent engagement is concerned, events should just show up on the tools they like to use to manage their events. And from your perspective, you want to make sure you've got a nice centralized system so that you're not managing multiple calendars manually. It can be very time consuming. If you don't have to do that, you can spend your time on more important things. So what should go into your newsletter? There's a time and place for newsletters, but if you're using groups and other tools the right way, their respective notification systems should be taking care of the majority of your day-to-day announcements and reminders to parents. So newsletters are really best used for less frequent communications that can talk about your school on a higher level. So if your newsletters are not bogged down with the day-to-day details, it will allow you to write much more engaging and targeted newsletters that will be valued by your parents, or importantly, your prospective parents. So they should be focused on parent education and giving them tools and understanding that they can use at home with their kids. Your newsletter now becomes a value add that parents will share with all their friends, rather than just a list of details that are usually mostly about everyone else's children. This here is an example of the Hubbli Newsletter Designer. It has all the same features you'll find in tools like MailChimp or Constant Contact. But of course, with Hubbli, it's not a separate tool, so you don't have to manage lists manually and separately. every time there's new students or people change their email address, which can be actually pretty often, and it can be time consuming. So now I'd like to take a minute here and ask, are there any questions? Is anything popping up in your head that you'd like to know about? And we've got Jonathan Wolff here, guys, so, feel free to ask him anything. It's a wealth of knowledge. We'll just take a second here. Takes a minute to type things in. Remember, there's a chat box on the right side.
If you have any particular issues that come up with regard to parent communications or relations, this would be a good time to see, how Hubbli fits into that. If you have any particular goals for parent relations. Heidi's cutting right to the chase, Jono.
How much is it? Heidi, stick around to the end. We're going to talk about that at the end, and we're also going to talk about ways of getting Hubbli at a substantially reduced rate. But I don't want to veer off from the focus of the conversation, which right now is how to manage parent communication tools. Lauren's asking, what features does Hubbli have other than calendar and email and text, etc.? Okay, so these are great questions, and essentially they're going to be answered through the remainder of the presentation. So do stick around, and we'll make sure we get to those. Are there any questions about?
Just for Lauren, I believe, Jono, you told me yesterday when we were chit-chatting, there are overall about 7 different Hubbli solutions or tools.
Yeah. So there are 7 components to Hubbli, and many features inside of those components. So that is a nice quick answer, and we'll break them down a little bit further. Okay, so I guess we'll move on with the presentation.
Looks like we have something from Catherine here.
Oh, great. Wondering about privacy issues of photos, etc., being published, yet parents don't need to sign in. Well, I guess you're asking about specifically with Hubbli. Yeah, there's everything is completely protected, and we've got all sorts of different privacy features in place, and we give the school ultimate control over that. And everything is on Hubbli. The Hubbli system offers the gold standard of security. So Heidi's asking, tell me more about the text conversation that can be set up. Can newsletters be attached to the newsletter? Well, the answer to, I guess, the last question is yes. More about the text conversation. So April, you're asking a really interesting question. This is all electronic communication, and you're saying, isn't it important to give parents info in multiple forms? Jonathan, what are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, in general, that's true. But I have to tell you, demographically speaking, the schools around the country and around the world that I consult with, given the generation of parents, there are still a few people that like to see it on a whiteboard in the parking lot, whatever is coming up. And there are people that like a flyer. But the vast majority of the parents who are going to Montessori, whose children are going to Montessori schools now, they are totally tuned into online electronic medium. Everything is on the smartphone, the iPad, the computer. So I think that's true in general, but I think the trend is swinging heavily, if it has not already swung heavily, to almost everything online with this generation or generations of parents, has been my experience.
Yeah, and something that I hear from school directors every day is that the parents keep getting younger, and the reality is that parents aren't getting younger. Actually, the parents are staying the same age. It's that the school's getting older, and but the parents are their communication expectations and behaviors are changing rapidly. Year to year, expectations are shifting, and that's something that we at Hubbli are always looking at and ensuring that our system is meeting parents where their behaviors are going to. We're helping schools meet that trend so that it's easier to ensure that parents are informed and engaged. Because a conversation I have very often with school directors is that school directors say, listen, it's, we put in this much effort, and then really it's the responsibility of the parents to make sure they're also informed. It's also their responsibility, and that's of course true. But it doesn't really matter whose responsibility it is, because when at the end of the day, if the parents aren't informed, it just makes a much harder job in life for people working in the school, because you have to make sure that they're informed, and you rely on the parents being engaged for a lot of things. So regardless of whose responsibility it is, if it's easier for them to be informed, if there's less friction and conflict with their everyday behaviors, you're going to have an easier time, and your staff will have an easier time performing your jobs and focusing on the most important things.
April, just one other PS to your excellent question is I've also found in the work that I do with schools is that the people who like, the parents who would prefer it in paper, whether it's a newsletter or a flyer, is if you have an online system that's incredibly simple, they start to segue or migrate over to that because it's not that big a technological jump for them. It's like, well, this is actually easier than trying to figure out where I put the flyer. It's always on my device.
Yeah, and I'll say in my, and I mean thousands of interactions with parents and surveying them, and that we do this work to develop Hubbli to be the right tool for schools. Overwhelmingly, and I mean in the high 90s, parents hate getting paper and dealing with it, and the ones that want it are few and far between. And it just doesn't make sense to create a system that most people don't like for the ones that do like it, when it's usually just going to be a very, very small percentage of your community. Those are our thoughts, and that's our stance, and that's why we are a digital communication tool. And in any event, I think what we should do is continue. And is for really specific questions on Hubbli, we're going to have an opportunity at the end to get into those real nitty gritty details. Absolutely. But let's continue on the the background theory of all of this stuff, because it's really important. So, as I mentioned earlier, the average school is actually spending a lot of time and money on managing communication, and with paper, it can be upwards of $2,000 or $3,000 per month. Just buying paper and printer ink and photocopy repairs and postage, and of course the hours that it takes on average, to just manage the paper. Just managing the paper, managing information by paper is incredibly time consuming. And here's an example of your biggest opportunity to reduce workload in and around the office and around the administration processes: digital forms. So this is an example of the Hubbli digital form system. Anything that parents fill out should be done digitally. And I understand that the state wants you to have, many different states have different requirements, and every state's got a few forms that are very specific, and a lot of states want them to be printed out, and that's fine. And Hubbli actually allows you to print out all your forms after parents have submitted them digitally. So, but the point is that when a parent can fill out a form digitally, first of all, they much prefer that experience. They don't like getting a stack of 30 sheets of paper every year and having to handwrite their name and their signature and their address and their children for every single form over and over again, and then the hassle of getting that form back to you and all of this stuff. And of course, it's just tons of workload for the school to manage it after it comes in. So parents prefer digital forms, and once they're submitted, the job is done. Every year when you do enrollment or re-enrollment, schools are spending sometimes months just collecting all that paperwork and managing it and putting that information that's been written on the paper into other systems. What if you could just have a parent fill out a form on any digital device, do a signature, make any payments that might be required for that form, and you're done. The job is done. If all the information can be organized for you digitally in a digital filing system, you can print them off, you can export them. The point is, when you go to look up information, you shouldn't be doing that by paper filing system. Most schools will take that paper information, the data that gets collected on paper, and type it into some type of digital database. But that process itself is incredibly time consuming. So you want a system that just removes those steps so that you can look up information and organize your information instantly. This should not require the weeks and oftentimes months of one or multiple people's time. I mean, it's kind of crazy in today's day and age.
Jono, I'd like to give a real quick case study for a moment on that one. And it sort of goes back also to the notifications. How many of you administrators who are listening in, or teachers, have had a situation where a really nice flyer has been developed, paper, for, let's say, the school picnic or whatever, a fundraiser, and it's posted in various places where parents can see. It's sent out to parents, whether it's mailed or given to the children to take home or passed out at the car line, and you still have inordinate numbers of parents, and it's one flyer passed out once. You still have people saying, I never saw it, or I lost it. With this kind of a system that's digital, you can design a flyer and have multiple periodic notifications, reminders, even varied in creative ways. The principle in advertising, is it's not the big one-time run, one-page ad that actually gets the response. It's the much smaller one that runs in the magazine every single month that people keep seeing. So the idea of having a system that automatically notifies people of important events bypasses not only the labor and the cost intensity of paper, but it's much more effective because it's not a one-off. It's a multiple contact. For those of you who are Montessorians, it's like repeated presentations of the lesson until the child gets it.
Yeah, and Loren's asking actually a really important question. Will we be notified when a parent opens and reads a notification? The answer with Hubbli is yes. Hubbli will notify whoever needs to be notified when things are read or submitted. But just to move on, when you're dealing with a digital form provider like Hubbli, we will organize your entries for you, so you don't have to type them into to a system manually or into a spreadsheet or a database or something like that. Then when you have to find something, it's just a simple search or a sort rather than, again, thumbing through all those stacks of paper. So when there is a form or a report or documentation filled out about a student, how much time does it take you to organize it and send it out or look up information? So think about something that a teacher fills out. So this is an example of like the Hubbli digital form tool handles all the different types of paper forms that parents fill out. It also handles all the types of documentations about students that teachers have to fill out. So whether it's attendance or a scope and sequence or a progress report or an incident report, Hubbli handles all of that stuff too. So what if all the parents or staff had to do was fill out a form and the system would then send the information to the right person automatically and place the information on a page about the student for easy lookup or printing or editing. So in Hubbli's case, let's just say as a use case, a teacher fills out an incident report. Would be a pretty simple, quick form, tap, 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 and they're done. And then automatically, that's the type of thing that you'd want to be notifying a parent about, right? So incident reports get submitted. Teacher picks up their tablet or a phone or goes to a desktop, fills out the incident report, takes about 30 seconds, and then submits it. And then immediately the parent gets a message with the notification and the information from the form. And then it also shows up on that child's dedicated records page that's shared privately with the parents. And then you might say, I know that there's many schools that use Hubbli and they're like, well, before that notification goes out to the parent, we want the admin to see it and approve it before it gets sent out. We want to make sure it's worded properly, etc. So we can actually automate that entire system. The teacher submits the form, and then automatically it gets sent to the admin. They open it up, they read it over, and they click approve, and then it gets sent to the parent, and obviously shows up on the child's page, their records
I
page.
would like to comment on that for a moment. Having been a former head of school and now a consultant to head of schools, let me ask an assessment question. How many of you who are administrators have read over teachers' progress reports, let's say during conference time or before conference time, and rolled your eyes because it's like, oh my gosh, bad grammar, bad paragraphing, that's not a positive way to say that, and it's got to be re-edited. So this feature, whether it's important emails or important notifications, it gives you the option in any of this to actually sort of do a quality check. When you call in sometimes a company, whether it's an airline or a credit card company, they'll give you a little notification. This call may be monitored for quality. So Hubbli is not designed to be Big Brother spying on teachers. So if I was an administrator using Hubbli, I'd make this very transparent. Folks, occasionally I'm going to read progress reports, various emails if it's a tricky subject, because the idea here is to support the parents, make the relationship as easy as possible between you and the parents so you can focus on teaching. So the teachers know that you have access to this, and it allows you as the administrator to have really quality assurance in helping teachers use better language or use better grammar. It's not the technology side, but it's kind of like, now that we've got this wonderful platform, we want teachers to communicate in really positive and professional ways, and having access to it is a way to help your teachers improve that aspect of their professionalism.
Wow, yeah, that's great. That's from the trenches right there. So how do your parents currently book parent-teacher conferences or school tours for prospective parents? What we usually hear is that for conferences there's some sheets on the door, or every room, and parents parents have to run back and forth from door to door to see what is or isn't available. So what we have here on Hubbli is a more automated digital scheduling system, so people can see all the schedules from one central place, and it sends out automated confirmations and reminders before the event. It also handles cancellations and also synchronized with your existing calendar. So this is an ideal way to obviously manage parent-teacher conferences, but it's also a great way to manage those prospective parents coming in and being able to self-book a tour with a predefined time slot that you've allowed them to self-select. And here's where things really it's kind of, I would say this is really the ultimate way to achieve school administrative workload reduction. If you really want to simplify your parent communication, you're going to want to set up some automated workflows to handle the tasks that you repeat on a regular basis. Here is an example of an automated enrollment workflow that we recently built for one of our customers inside their Hubbli site. So let's say a prospective parent does a Google search or clicks on a Facebook ad. It leads them to the Hubbli site where there's a big button, inquire here, and then so that takes them to a digital form. So they fill out that digital inquiry form, and then immediately the admin would be notified that family record's created, and then that prospective parent will start getting a sequence of pre-written and timed emails that are hitting them on a regular basis until they book a tour. So it's selling them on the school, helping the parents understand the type of school that you are, which might help them also determine maybe this isn't the one for me, and so that you don't have to waste your time with a parent that is the wrong fit, right? So why spend your time doing a tour with a parent that is absolutely not the right fit for your school, as opposed to focusing your time on families that are going to resonate with the culture of your school.
Jono, I
So
want to just comment for a moment on this enrollment management, recruitment and enrollment management system. We tend as Montessori educators who are trying to vet or find the right fit parents for our school, and enough of them to keep our school filled forever. They stay through the entire program. We tend to think of it as an information model solely. It's like, let's get the right information to these people. Let's get their information. But there's another side of this, which this automated process it offers, which most non-technical or non-online processes don't. The other thing, other than information, is the frequent contact. If you can see my fingers, it's all good businesses that want to be very sensitive to their prospective and existing customers. It's not only what they say to them, but it's the frequency of like, thank you for coming to our school. We look forward to meeting you. This is the open house. And then a week later, a reminder, the open house is coming up. We hope you and your husband can join us. It's that frequent contact that gives people a sense, wow, this particular school is really more sensitized to wanting to stay in touch with me, wanting to build a relationship. And that's different than the information. It's creating a culture of partnership from the very beginning. And that's the beauty of an automated system. You can meter or monitor the contacts to build out those bridges.
that's a phenomenal point. I would also say it also presents an incredibly well-organized school, which helps parents feel a sense of trust. And this goes for any business. The more organized you present yourself, the more likely and comfortable and trusting that prospective parent is going to feel about the things that are going on around the classroom, right? Not just the amazing programming that you have, but the management of the actual organization, which is something that a lot of parents do care about. And so there are many tools that have this type of workflow, but they're generally not that cheap, and there's usually a pretty steep learning curve. But if you're interested in using the Hubbli workflow tool, it's actually designed specifically for schools, so you don't have to become a digital marketing expert, on your own. And our team is obviously, set up to help you.
Jono, I'd like to give one other example before we go on. What would happen relative to other schools a prospective parent might look at other than your school? What would happen if after a parent comes to an open house, or a set of parents come to an open house or take a tour, assuming in that process you found out something, obviously the names of the family and hopefully the name of the child, what would happen within a day or so after that tour? Automatically, maybe just with a tiny bit of input on somebody's part, there's a nice little note that goes out saying, I'm so happy that you and your so-and-so could attend our open house or our tour the other day. And we look forward to continuing to dialogue with you about your son Jonathan's, education. So it's right. Personalized, and it takes note. What would the effect be on parents in looking at the culture and the sensitivity of your school if there was sort of a personalized thank you that went out with every parent who inquired or toured or went to an open house? Very, very few schools do this. And so what we're adding to your quality program presentation is also a sense of, thank you for being with us. We want to stay in touch with you. We want to build a relationship. The culture that we create at the beginning, that sense of family, that sense of partnership, that's intimate, that's personal, it's as important as the quality of the program. Because if there are two Montessori programs that are competing and they're of relative or equal, weight in terms of the services and the quality, what's going to swing people? Maybe the sense that one program's presentation was more personalized to their needs and created a sense of bonding and trust faster than the other one, which was information, but kind of cold. And that's the beauty of an automated system, because you can do that kind of personalization and more frequent contact without spending a lot of time, because it's a digital system.
But yeah, exactly. That's the key. Without doing it all manually and having to remember it all in your head, the system will make sure it's like kind of working for you while you sleep, basically. And the question, what if it was possible for your website to actually generate twice the amount of inquiries? So we actually think it is possible, and we actually see it happening for Hubbli customers. Hubbli has a full suite of tools and services to help you manage your external marketing for enrollment. We're not going to get into these today, but Jonathan and I are, keep your eyes open for a notification. We're going to invite you to another webinar based on how to use digital marketing tools to grow enrollment with the right families for your school. But there's just too much information to cram into one session, so we have to break it up a bit.
Brian, let me just do one quick additional pitch on that, and it's a problem that I see in many schools is in their promotional approach, whether it's their physical brochure and certainly their website, they're kind of trying to sell too much of the program. I mean, they're giving good information, but what they're forgetting is a call to action. Come down and see the magic of what Montessori children can do. And with this kind of website development, it not only gives a very readable encapsulation or description of the program and the school community, but the entire energy is about, if you don't come down and see what Montessori students are capable of, you're really missing it. So it's really built around a call to action in a way that's very enticing graphically and in terms of copy. And that's the thing that creates the more inquiries. It's not only how to format the information properly so it's brain friendly, but it's this constant thing. You got to see what's going on down here, and that's what you want, is people coming in the door to see the magic of your program.
Okay, and we gotta move on. But thank you, Jonathan, that scratched the surface and give a nice peek into the content we're going to get into. So I want to ask everybody, what do you think about all this? Why did you show up here today? I'm not exactly sure why. Obviously, can't read your minds, but I bet you showed up here because you want to be able to send messages to parents and trust that they get read, and probably want to free up your time from the more boring and repetitive activities like sorting through sheets of paper, so that you can spend more time on higher value and more enjoyable tasks like being in the classroom or talking to new families. So you know that you're capable of doing more of that. You just need to get some of these roadblocks out of your way, and you want to give parents a communication experience that they appreciate and they don't feel that they need to dodge. So you can do this, right? You've shown up here today. You made it a priority. Hopefully you've taken some notes, and maybe you're even excited about this. But there's two ways you can go about this. I want you to know that an efficient system can actually change your school, and it can change your life. But you've got to know exactly what to do at your specific school, because every school is a little different. What's the skill level of your staff? What are the communication expectations of the parents in your neighborhood? What tools do you already know and use? And can those tools be used more effectively? Or do you need to switch to other tools? And that's where we come in. So you've got two options. You can take this information, it's pretty high level, and you can just try, basically figure it out on your own. The obvious question is, how can you quickly and easily figure this stuff out for your school? So I'd now like to take a moment of your time. This will be the first offer of one of Hubbli services. Now that we've done the background theory, what I'm about to show you is not one of Hubbli's software tools. Rather, it's a form of consulting service that we offer as a standalone service, which gives you an opportunity to gain an accurate assessment of the effectiveness of your parent engagement. It's called the Parent Communication Report Card. But first, I want to know, do I have your permission to take a few minutes of your time and show you how this works? Okay, got permission. So we're going to move forward. The Hubbli Parent Communication Report Card is the most efficient way to learn exactly what your school needs to improve parent engagement. The report card will enable you to determine how your website is performing with regard to speed and security and overall search engine optimization, how you can significantly increase the number of inquiries of prospective families, and how you can attract more of the, quote unquote, right fit families to your school, and how you can reduce the stress and workload of managing multiple parent communication tools. And what you get is a 1 hour live one-on-one assessment with me. We're going to afterwards send you an actionable report with specific strategies and tools for your school. Additionally, you'll have the option of using Hubbli if you want to. We'll give you 50% off of our setup and our training program. And we'll also give you 1 free month off the, 1 free month. Your first month will be free for the software service. So the first deliverable is we're going to run through your website and do an analysis, and it's going to tell you exactly how your site is performing and all the key areas that determine if your school website is likely to be found by prospective families that are searching for schools online. We'll also give you an action list identifying the top 3 things you need to do differently with the tools you're currently using, or with tools that we identify during the session that you need to adopt. And the third deliverable is an expense and revenue calculator. This is where you get a crystal clear understanding of what your current processes are costing you and how much additional revenue the school could be making with small adjustments to everything. This is an ironclad business planning report that no owner or partner or school board could really argue with, because obviously numbers don't really lie. So if you want to have an easy time convincing people that things need to change, this is something you definitely want to have as part of your presentation. Well, you're probably wondering what this would all cost. So you could keep doing what you're doing. And if you're like most schools, you're probably spending about $30,000 per month per 100 students simply managing communication tools across all your staff.
You don't mean 30,000 a month, do you?
30,000 per month per 100 students for all the hours and everything, all the hours of managing communication across all your staff. It actually totals that. It's a lot that schools invest. Or another option is obviously you can hire consultants. Hey, hire Jonathan Wolff. It's definitely worth it. But of course, he's not, he's a busy guy. He's in high demand, and he's not available just any day. And I know he delivers the value, but you also have to make sure you plan a budget for it, of course.
Well, I'm not the technology guru.
Right. So it requires a lot of steps to make it happen. So that's why we're doing this, because this makes it much easier. So what's the total value of doing this today? Well, the regular price of the communication report is $498. And if after the report you're interested in using Hubbli, the regular price of our setup is $1,999. And the Hubbli software service has a basic monthly fee of $199 per month. Your total investment today is only $97 for that, and you get the parent communication report card service. If you decide to move forward with Hubbli, we'll give you a 50% discount off our setup, which is a one-time payment of $19.99, and so you'd only be paying $9.99 for that. And additionally, your first month would be free. So this is an additional savings of $199. So with a total savings of $1,400, we're trying to make it as easy as possible for you to get really big results. So I'm actually going to drop down a button here that should make it really easy for you to take advantage of this. And you can also get started later on today if you go to hubbli.com/getreport, and that'll be available all day. And I want you to know that, we're really here to provide help, useful information that will have a really large impact on your school. And we're really sure that you'll find it valuable. But if you don't, we don't want this to be something that just cost you money and was a waste of your time. So we'll actually give you a full refund. If you're not happy with this, we'll refund the $97 plus we'll give you an additional $25 for your time. We don't want to take you away from the important things that you're doing. And we don't, we really want you to know that we value your time, and we really value and really are honored when people that run schools take time out of their day to do webinars like this and to sit with us. We want to help you, and we want this to be a helpful thing at every step of the way. And if you don't feel it was helpful, we'll give you every penny back, and we'll give you an extra $25.
Go back to that other slide, that prior slide. I want to make a comment on, you saw there under Get Started Today, 5 spots available. That's not a trick. I've talked about this with Jono. To do this parent communication report card and to get people set up, to give them the support they need in exploring Hubbli, there's just so much of Jono and his time. Otherwise, he'd be working 24/7. So that 5 spots is Jono's bandwidth of at any one time, the number of prospective schools. He can really walk through this parent communication report card, this assessment of your current system. So the idea is, let's not spread Jono too thin, because when I saw that, I was a little suspect, but it's to be able to render quality assessment services is the reason for that.
Well, yeah, I mean, Jonathan understands that, because obviously when he goes and spends a day with a school, he can't do another school that day. And this is a one-to-one. This is you're paying for, time, which is why it's actually a lot more expensive usually, because it's not only time, but it's also a report that we generate and send. So it's a lot more than just that 1 hour. But yeah, unfortunately, it's different than our software. With software, we can take on as many customers. Obviously, the software can handle it. That's the beauty of software. But when it's consulting, we're trading time for dollars, and we're trying to make that as easy as possible today. But we can only really do it for at this rate at 5 spots. That's all that we have available. So it's.
Do we have some, other than anything else you're going to present? Do we still have a few minutes for questions? We've kept people pretty long today, and I know there's a couple of questions that have popped up.
Yeah, so please ask any questions. There was one question here by Heidi. How does this compare to MRX?
Yes.
It does a lot more than what MRX does. There are a lot of schools that do switch over from MRX to Hubbli, and there are schools that like what MRX does and uses Hubbli for what it does differently. And so it's not it doesn't have to be seen as a direct competitor, but we do basically everything that MRX does as well. But then there's obviously a personal preference there, so it can certainly replace it. So we have a question here. So $97 for startup. Can you talk about the cost once more, please? I missed it. Oh, so sure. The $97 is for the parent communication report card. The regular price on that is $498. What that is that gives you the session with myself, and we get to really dig into all the different tools and ways and strategies to help you to let you know what to do specifically at your school. And we'll give you consulting as how to go about implementing it. And if you so choose to use Hubbli to implement those strategies, which is not required, you can take that information and you can use it with anything. But if you want to use Hubbli to do it, we'll give you a 50% discount off our setup fee, which is $1,999, which gives you a site and training and a completely done-for-you setup. The way our setup works is schools just kind of dump everything on us. It's like a concierge experience. And we set it all up, we set everything up for you so that you can just focus on the training. We want you to focus on learning the product so that when everything's set up and you're ready to go, you don't have to also set it up at the same time. And, Heidi, you actually mentioned an important point, because the next topic that Jonathan and I are going to talk about is how Hubbli, and the strategies and the ways that schools need to market themselves and grow. And Hubbli, actually, we didn't talk about those features today, but Hubbli gives you all the tools to grow your school, and to do it much more efficiently than most school directors really understand how to do it. And I don't mean to be rude, but the reality is that we find people running schools are not digital marketing experts. They're pretty far from that, generally speaking. And we give you digital marketing tools packaged up and sort of as a turnkey solution, with the guidance on, we help you set it up, and we actually set things up for you and help you run them properly to make sure that you're doing things the right way. So we actually help you grow your enrollment with the right families. So if you are a new school looking to grow, now is actually the smartest time to adopt a tool like Hubbli, because we will help you do that. And price, guys, I just want to say, we never let price get in the way of a school using Hubbli. There's so many different ways to work. We'll be as flexible as you need us to be on pricing. We really don't. The prices, like, as you can see, I'm already, just in today, we're offering you a 50% discount just to start with that. And we can create payment plans, and we can make things work with your specific budget and your cash flow. Don't let price stop you from making the right decision. And by the way, even if Hubbli was twice as expensive as it was today, it would be a really smart decision. And I would say any tool that gives you the features and the capabilities that Hubbli does is something that you need to invest in as soon as possible. And we will make it as easy as possible for you. So are there any other questions on the topics that we covered? We've got a lot of, listen, you've got Jonathan Wolff here, guys. I know I've been spitting out a lot of hot air, but ask anything of Jonathan. I hope you don't mind, Jonathan, but this is a man that has so much critical information for you, so many lessons from the trenches of, I guess I shouldn't call running a school a trench, but
let me just say, when I was administrating schools in the late 80s, 90s, early 2000s, Montessori schools, both charter and mostly private, I would have died to have had something like this kind of online all-in-one platform, because I wanted to spend time on the quality issues, being in the classroom, working with teachers, formatting parent education, really thinking about the sort of the semantics of how I present our school, the sort of the core of our culture, the core of Montessori. I spend so much time messing around with communications, cleaning up things that, teachers had done by mistake, or just all the paperwork. It's like, I would have loved to have had something where I could have dealt with like really core important issues of improving the program, really being there for parents and creating a partnership. I was doing stuff that was basically more clerical than I needed to do. So my invitation to you is simply take a look at this system, because it frees both teachers and administrators to do what they really want to do, what's most meaningful, and will produce the highest level of learning and the highest level of parent support, because it makes it simpler and more efficient. It's like driving a more automated automobile than having to check everything before you go on the road. Looks like we have another. Jono, I see you just put up.
Yeah, I just want to let everyone know how to get in touch with me directly. If you have any other questions, you can just email me at jono@hubbli.com. And of course, my phone number and my extension is right there as well. If you have any questions about anything, really, afterwards, we love connecting and helping schools in any way, any time of day.
Okay.
So, are there any other questions out there that we can answer for anybody? I also just want to thank everybody for being so interactive with us today. It's really, it's really amazing to be able to present this information, but also get your feedback and answer your questions. It's more enjoyable for us, and it, makes these presentations more fun. So I really want to just share my appreciation with everybody. And we're going to be running this for a few more minutes. This offer for the discounted parent communication report card is available to you all day. If you can't pull the trigger this very moment, you can go ahead and just go to hubbli.com/getreport at any point in time. One thing I actually realized I forgot to share with you guys is we actually have, if you are able to sign up right now using the offer button on the right side of the screen, you're going to get a free download of our ebook, Master Parent Engagement. This is a really great resource to have. Has a bunch of actionable ideas on how to engage parents, various different strategies, using again, you don't have to use Hubbli. This is tool agnostic information, but it's handy. It's spent a lot of time kind of formalizing this and putting it together, and we get a lot of great feedback from this ebook. So if you are able to sign up, it'll be a bonus for doing so in the next few minutes. Denise, thanks for signing up for the parent communication report card. You're going to get an email with a link to download it. So check your inbox; should be there in a matter of minutes. So you're going to get a few emails at this point that'll just guide you to the next steps for booking your parent communication report card now that you've signed up for it. So thank you for doing so. I really look forward to connecting with you. The first thing you're going to do is fill out a survey so we can gather some really helpful information and make our time together all the more efficient and give us a lot of direction right out of the gate. And also in your email inbox, you'll have a link to download that ebook. So I do suggest keep your eyes out for that. So we got about 1.5 minutes to go before we wrap up the webinar. Are there any last questions that anybody has?
Well, let me do my little offer here. My clients know that I do not invoice for email or phone time. So as you look at whether it's the master parent engagement or if you're struggling with any parent relations or parent communication issues, I'm very happy to have an ad hoc conversation with any of you. Again, you can reach me at jonathan@jonathanwolff.org. I will support you in any way I can.
Yeah, that's actually great for a consultant like Jonathan to offer all that additional time at no additional expense. It's rare as far as consultants go, and I think that tells you how special of a guy he is, and I can tell you that I'm Jonathan says he's not such a technical guy, but his understanding of what these tools can do for you is as if he has built them himself. And I really I can't recommend enough to bring him to your school and or just connect with him any way you can.
My motivation comes from a place of total remorse that I didn't have these things when I was ahead of school. So I'm trying to live vicariously through other school heads, because I didn't have any of these technical benefits when I was running school. So it's purely it's satisfying a therapeutic need.
Yeah, and I guess that's why you get it. It's clear when you see the tools and the way you're coming from, from scenarios that you've experienced and pains you've experienced, and you see how these tools could have solved it. And the way you word things and the way you describe how it could be used, it's better than we could ever come up with ourselves, which is why I say the things I say about your understanding of how these tools should be used.
I appreciate
it always blows my mind.
Okay.
And
school of hard knocks.
Yeah, and that's why we love partnering with guys like Jonathan, because it helps us. Yeah, but it helps us develop a better product, to give us better understanding. And it's always something we're always trying to improve upon. It's a constant endeavor. We're always improving our product and making it more right for Montessori schools. And so that wraps up the session today. I want to thank everybody for joining us. It's an honor to have you. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact myself or Jonathan. And I just want to say one last time, if price is the thing that's holding you back, don't let that be the case. Just reach out to us. We'll work something out. We want you to have solutions that are going to grow your school. We're very happy to invest into a longer term relationship, so that you can be successful, and if we can be the tool that aided your success and your growth, then that is a huge win for us. And it's not just about dollars and cents. It's about helping Montessori schools grow and improve the program and the outcomes. So please don't let price tags steer you away from reaching out to us and seeing if we can't connect with you and get you a solution to put you in a better place. Thanks again. It's been a real honor having Jonathan here, and please do reach out to us. And everybody, I just wish you a wonderful day. All the best.
Take care.